Hi everybody, welcome to my second episode of Vicki and Bernie Travel. I got lots of great feedback from everyone in regards to my first episode, so we're going to continue this as long as it's still fun and people are enjoying it and I have something to say. So on today's episode, we're going to talk about the most asked question I receive, and you guessed it. It's bringing alcohol on board a princess ship. Now, I get this asked by my fans on my Facebook page. I get asked from people on board ships, and my friends, when they're looking at booking, are always asking me about bringing alcohol on board. One thing to remember, though, is even though in your country or your province or your state, the drinking age may be lower than 21, on board a cruise ship, you have to be 21 to consume alcohol. When I first started cruising, Princess did have a policy about bringing alcohol on board, but they really didn't enforce it. So people were bringing on numerous bottles of wine or champagne and even beer. But now, Princess has altered their policy a little bit, and they do now enforce it. This started about just over a year ago, and they started enforcing it sort of ship to ship and then port to port. So what we have found is they are enforcing it, especially in North America, but on some of the other itineraries, like when we did our South America cruise, we found that many of the ports like Buenos Aires and in Chile, we brought on numerous bottles of wine and champagne, and they really weren't consistent with enforcing the policy, meaning we had some friends who were pulled aside when coming back on board and then told to pay the corkage fee, and then some that they just, came right on with their wine. So let's get to the policy. Now, if you go into your passenger contract, and again, I encourage people to read the documents that are sent to you. Go on to Princess and go to your personalizer and click on your the passenger contract and read through it, because I think a lot of people are often surprised of what the cruise line is responsible for. And one of the items under it is a section about alcohol and tobacco. And I'm going to read directly from the contract right now. So it says, passengers agree not to bring alcoholic beverages of any kind on board for consumption except one bottle of wine or champagne per person of drinking age, no larger than 750 milliliters per voyage, only in his or her carry-on luggage. A corkage fee of $15 US per bottle, which is subject to change without notice, will be applied to wine and champagne brought on board by you and consumed in a ship's public area. Any wines or champagne supplied by the carrier to you as a gift are not subject to a corkage fee. At embarkation, all your luggage will be scanned for suspected alcohol in excess of the one bottle policy as provided herein. Your luggage will undergo a secondary inspection by a security team operating under closed-circuit surveillance. In the event your luggage is locked, you will be notified and are required to attend the secondary inspection, where any alcohol found in violation of the one bottle policy will be removed and discarded. Carrier shall not be responsible for any loss, cost, disappointment, or damage of any kind as a result of any alcoholic beverages removed in violation of the one bottle policy. You agree to surrender alcoholic beverages that are purchased duty-free from the ship's gift shop or at ports of call to the carrier, which will be delivered to your stateroom on the last night of the voyage. Okay, I know, that sounds a lot. It's really not that difficult. So let's just say you're going to want to bring some wine on, and you are allowed one bottle per person per voyage. So we're getting on, say, in Los Angeles. I am allowed to bring a bottle, and my cabin mate is allowed to bring a bottle. We arrive at the pier, and you will see a sign that they now have, and it says upcoming alcohol checkpoint. So this is located usually just before the security screeners, and I have seen it afterwards as well. And when you're going through the screeners, like just basically the, like security, like you see at the airport, security will notice if there's something in your bag that looks like a bottle. And then they will tell you to proceed to this table that is set up right near where the x-rays are. And so then you would go there, and you will then have the bottles pulled out of your carry-on bag, and they will ensure that you have just one bottle each per cabin. And then they will mark it in either on a piece of paper with your cabin number as a log that you did bring your 2 bottles, or sometimes they have a laptop there and they enter in that, yes, okay, Vicky brought on a bottle of wine and her cabin mate brought on a bottle of wine. So that would mean that, say, the next port you bring on more wine, they would then check and say, oh, you already had your limit, so they will charge you a corkage fee. So let's get back to, you've gone through security, and now you are standing at that table, and you have your 2 bottles of wine, and you also have a bottle of champagne. So now you've got 3 bottles in total for your cabin. What they do is they say, which bottle would you like to pay corkage fee on? So that just means that which bottle are you going to maybe want to take to the dining room or to one of the restaurants or to drink anywhere in any of the public areas. And so say I'm going to take my champagne to dinner at the Crown Grill by night. So what they will do is they will, and this varies again, it can be a sticker, I've seen them have a stamp, and I've even seen them initial. So what they'll do is they'll initial the label on the bottle for you. And then that means when you show up at the dining room with your champagne and they see that you've got the sticker on it, they know that you've paid the corkage fee, so you don't have to. But say you bring one of the bottles of wine that you got free, you're one of your bottle that you get free per cabin. If you bring that to the dining room, they then will charge you corkage on that bottle, which is $15 currently. So if you're going to consume it in your cabin, there's no fee for that first bottle. But if you take it to one of the public areas, you will be charged a corkage fee. Note, you're not allowed to bring any other form of alcohol. Okay? That's really key. And so no beer, no rum. And if they find it, they can potentially confiscate it. And I have heard of this happening. And I've also heard of them taking the bottle and storing it for you for when you get off. So I can't guarantee what the policy will be on your ship, but I probably wouldn't want to risk it because you just don't know what they're going to do, and they potentially can confiscate and discard it. So we're on board the ship now. We have our bottles of wine in our cabin. We paid the corkage fee on the excess bottle that we brought. But say you checked one in your suitcase. Well, what happens is if your suitcase is not locked, they will go in and hold that bottle. And they are allowed to do that. They are protecting us with their security. They will do the same for any item that you're not allowed to bring on. So if you bring on scissors or any violent, any kind of like a weapon or something, they will go in and remove it. If the suitcase is locked, then they can't go into it, obviously. In either case, they will call your cabin. You will not get that bag. You will get a call to your cabin saying that you need to come down to secondary screening, and you will meet with one of the security officers there. At that time, they will either confiscate it, or they may say, you have to pay corkage on this item. Again, it seems to vary. There's no hard, fast rule of what's going to happen on your ship. And I know when we did South America, we brought on a case of champagne, and we had to pay corkage fee on the bottles that were over our limit. And again, we didn't have any issue with that because it was something that we wanted to do and bring on board and enjoy. The key here is that the policy hasn't changed. It's just that they're enforcing it. So make sure you're following the rules and you'll have a safe voyage. Oh, I should bring up too that if you're in port, now you've traveled, you're already on the cruise, you stopped in a port, and now you're going to buy, say, a bottle of rum from somewhere in the Caribbean. You're allowed to do that, but when you come on board the ship after visiting the port, your bag will get x-rayed. Security will say, hey, that bag has a bottle. You need to go over there and hand it over to, usually two people at a table right near the gangway, and they will collect your bottle of booze, and they will tag it, and they often will give you a receipt. And that bottle will be delivered to your cabin on the last night of the cruise for you to take home. Keep an eye on this. It has happened to us, not on Princess, but on another line where we did bring on some liquor and we never got the bottle. We figure that it probably got delivered to the wrong cabin and those people never said anything. Thankfully, we had the receipt. We had the claim ticket that was given to us, and we got our money back, but we never did get that alcohol. And, it was certain brands of liquor that you just can't get anywhere else. One thing about bringing alcohol on board, again, if you're going to consume it, I see people opening up bottles and bringing glasses of wine into the dining room, and there's ways people open up their bottle and take it into the dining room. I personally would not do that, but I'm not here to judge on what you do. I know it's probably frowned upon, and this is a perk that we get, and they could easily take this perk away. So I encourage everybody just to follow the policy. So I want to thank you for listening to my second episode all about bringing wine and alcohol on board the cruise ship. If you have any comments, feel free to post them underneath in the blog or on the YouTube video, or go to my Facebook page, Cruising Princess Cruise Lines with Vicky, or check out my blog, vickyandbernietravel.blogspot.ca. Please take note that this podcast is in no way affiliated with any cruise line or any travel agency, that the views that I state here are my own and are in no way a reflection of anyone else's.